morning, good morning, good morning. All right, let me just wait for Facebook here to play catch up. It's always a little bit slow on the uptake. Here we go. All right, Facebook caught up. Maybe, there we go. All right. All right, good morning. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a fabulous weekend. Both Saturday and Sunday were about as good as you're going to get this time of year. So hope you were able to go outside, as I say every single day on here. Go outside, do something outside, be outside, don't be inside, however you want to phrase it. But hopefully you were able to get outside, take advantage of the amazing weather we had. Got a good bike ride in both days. I think yesterday I went about 30 miles, the day before about 30 miles. And saw a lot of people outside, like of their home, not necessarily, didn't see a lot of cyclists. But you know, there's a lot of roads to cover in our area. So, you know, and I like to try to stay up in the hills a little bit more, and not as many people like to do that, but we have some really strong climbers and cyclists that like to ride uphill. So did see a couple of guys really pushing it, but hope you guys really had a good weekend. And the reason that I say that is, you know, again, we can look at today and be like, oh, man, it's another rainy, cloudy day in Syracuse. There's two things that I would take away from that. One, that's why when we have sunny days, you got to make sure you're taking advantage of them. Two, all of that hard work, if you were planting things yesterday, you don't have to turn your hose on today, because I don't think it's really going to rain that much. But if it was going to rain, now you don't have to water those plants. The rain will water them. And you know what? The technology is amazing. There's these things called raincoats, so we can still go outside and do stuff. This is, you know, just an odd fact. When we were up in Canada last year for the Ottawa Marathon, it was pouring out, just like an absolute downpour. We went up on a Friday, either a Thursday or a Friday, maybe a Thursday. And literally, like, people were along the Rideau Canal. There's a path similar to the Erie Canal. And there was probably, I mean, we were sitting in 5 o'clock traffic because of how we planned our trip into town was, you know, we should go at the busiest time with the biggest truck possible. So that's what we did. And we're sitting in traffic, in the amount of cyclists back and forth, like commuters riding to and from work, was crazy. And I just remember thinking, like, yes, they have the Rideau Canal, and it's right down in the heart of the city. Like, it runs right through Ottawa, which is a beautiful, beautiful city if you ever get to go. But, you know, just to see the amount of people that it didn't really, like, to them, it didn't matter that it was raining. Like, they had to get to work and they had to get home from work. And that's something that I haven't seen since when we lived in Philly. We lived, I don't know, 3 miles outside of, like, Center City, downtown Philadelphia, if that's what you want to call it, which is, you know, where the gym that I worked at was. That's where, like, the art museum is and all that stuff. So we were like 3 miles out from there. And I think in the 2 years that I had, like, my Mini Cooper down there, I think I put like 5,000 miles on it, because I literally rode my bike to and from the gym. And I'd ride there like 2-3 times a day, and that was all year long. Like, you didn't, you know, at one point I was pricing out studded snow tires so that I could so that I could ride to work. Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm not seeing your comment. Maybe it'll come up in a second, Matt. Yeah, for some reason Facebook's not integrating. Yeah, I don't believe in trails. I've been on trails enough. So yeah, that was one of those things where, I haven't seen that since then. And, so hopefully people will take this opportunity to say like, geez, I can get a little fitness in while going to and from work. It's a novel idea. I'm looking at doing that. If I don't go back to the gym, if I only go to my office, I'm going to ride to and from my office, because it makes it, it's another variable that I have to equate when I have to ride another 20 minutes to and from the gym. So, but today that was just, random tangents that fly through my mind at 7:55 before I come on here. So, all right, I'm going to play catch up here. What do we got for comments? Good morning, Trisha. Good morning, Matt. And trails are where it's at now. I would disagree with you, but you can think that. Trails are a lot of fun, both running and cycling. And, I do encourage you to get out on them. Funny fact about trails is most people never make it more than 1.5 miles into a trail. So if you want to find the seclusion and the beauty of truly being on the trails, you have to get past that 1.5 miles. Some agency did a study on, and it was based out of the Midwest, or I guess more of the West, but they were looking at, from a usage standpoint of the trails in, out of the people that they interviewed, the overwhelming majority, was like something like 82%, only ventured, 1.5 miles in to come 1.5 miles out. So like 3 miles round trip. So the trail conditions, the trails are going to be obviously a lot less worn that 2, 3, 12 miles in. So, just to give you some ideas, like, maybe plan like, hey, let's take a longer hike, longer than 1.5 miles. We'll see less people. The further we go in, the less people we're going to see. It seems kind of obvious, but at the same time, like, there's been studies that confirm it. So confirmation bias is always a good thing. All right. So what I really wanted to talk about today, though, is, Friday I had Natalie on, and, funny odd story about Natalie was she was our neighbor when we lived in Syracuse. And I remember the day she moved in, because I think I had to text message Beth, because she was probably at work and I probably was home. Either that or Beth was in the house, but I just remember telling her in some means of communication, our neighbor's a cyclist. And her response is, how do you know that? I was like, A, she has cycling tan lines, and B, I just saw a wheel bag go into her garage. Not that I was stalking our neighbor the day that they moved in, but I thought that was, we were like, oh, who's moving in next door? And then I saw the Easton wheel bag, and I was like, oh, no shit, I've got a cyclist as a neighbor. You don't have a wheel bag if you're just a recreational cyclist. Like, you've got to be pretty good. Come to find out, she was a pro. So, but one of the things that kind of hit me on Friday that I kind of knew about Natalie, but I didn't know, like, we've never actually spoken about that in the hundreds of miles we've ridden together, but just how she gave you true insight into how a professional athlete's brain functions. And what I mean by that is she is a professor. Okay, that is her job by trade. She does a ton of research in the Middle East, tons of research. It seems like every year something is being, she shares something that she's published. And I remember she had said that was one of the big reasons that she came to Syracuse, was because of her ability to conduct research in her given field. And that Syracuse really highly recruited her. She's very young. So that being said, take cycling out of her life from a gains perspective. She is a very successful professor, right? But she only feels complete if with that exercise component, one she touched on was her mental health. It does help as an outlet for energy. But two, just the structure of her day and helps provide her with that discipline. And the fact that, when she came to Syracuse, her whole thought process was, I'm going to structure my days around when I can ride my bike. Instead of most of you who are listening to this or will listen to this later, structure your day around all of these other pieces. And then when I have time, I'll fit some exercise in. And it's not to say your mindset is incorrect or wrong, but it's just to show you that, because a lot of times it's to show you that's the way that a professional athlete's brain is, right? Like a lot of times we ask the questions like, man, I want to be, maybe you want to be a high level triathlete or high level runner, or you just want to get into the sport. And it's like, I can't, they must train 8 hours a day. She doesn't, but it's the emphasis placed on that. It's the emphasis placed on, I am going to get my, like looking yesterday to see what today's weather is going to be, to figure out how she's going to get, how you're going to get your workout in. And just knowing yesterday how today is going to be structured around when my workout is going to be, instead of the other variation of that, which is, okay, so, if I get done with everything, then I'll go for a 30-minute walk. Then you get done with everything and it's raining and you're like, oh, it's raining, I don't want to go outside. So, I'll just, I'll make it up tomorrow. And that's totally quote unquote normal that a lot of people will do is, and that's really one of the reasons, really I wanted to have her on to talk, because I think it's an amazing experience going from a professional athlete, undiagnosed type 1 diabetic, to then all of a sudden being diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic, and everything that you were doing previously with your nutrition has now shifted. That's really why I wanted to have her on. But then when she started talking about everything else, I was like, wow, this is almost too perfect. Because it just reemphasizes, like, I am not a professional athlete. I take exercise very seriously, and it does rule my world. In the past, probably a little bit to a fault, based on the amount of money that I've wasted on equipment and races, if you want to call it wasted. Before Jerry was born, Beth and I would both agree that I was extremely selfish when it came to races. I'd race 15, 20 times a year, and none of them were, maybe 2 of them were in Syracuse area. Two of them were. So I was basically in the Northeast, and then we'd go Canada, and we did do some international. So, but, I was never, at the same, lateral level as her. But to me, it's still like, that's the most important thing. Like, I already know when and where I'm doing my workouts today, and I've got to do 2. So it's like, I know what they are and when they're going to happen, because that was something that I figured out yesterday. Just based on looking at the weather. And that's typically what I do. And I don't, to me, it doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, sleeting, or 152 degrees. It's just, okay, well, I got to get it in. So dress accordingly, fuel accordingly. But, I wanted a lot of you guys, I wanted to bring that up again, because I want a lot of you to take away parts of that mindset. Is, you want to improve your health and wellness. I hope that's really my goal here, is that you are going to take those steps. So how do I do that? What's the first step in doing that? Well, break that apart and say, okay, so if I want to improve my nutrition, I'm going to make it more of a priority. And we've already talked about that in the past, as far as like my little triangle, my hierarchy of specificity towards how you look at your nutrition. Or maybe you just say, you know what, for this week, I'm not going to have any added sugar. And that is 100% fine. That's a super good way to dial it in to a point where you're like, all right, I'm good to go there. From the health and from the fitness side of things, it might be, taking your week and saying, like, putting it on a calendar, scheduling your workout in your iCalendar so that you can see it. Like, you'll be able to see mine if it pops up here. Yeah, it kind of does. There we go. Too much of a glare. But you can see that there's a bike work and there's strength work in there. So they're already in my calendar. They're in my calendar through 2 weeks out. So I know what I'm doing for the next 2 weeks before that gets here. And again, like, you can sit down and you could be like, as you're listing your appointments for the day, it's like, all right, listening to Ed from 8 to 8:30, from 8:30 to 9, doing 10 push-ups for, 10 push-ups every minute for 30 minutes and tallying up those. That might be your workout. And then from 9 to 9:30, shower, 9:30 to 10, logging on to Zoom meeting, and so on and so forth. And that's how you structure your day. But physically put it in there so it's an appointment with yourself, and that'll help you to become very regular, and it becomes more second nature, because it's like, okay, now I have to stop what I'm doing and go do my workout, or I have to go do my workout and then I can resume whatever I was going to, or start whatever I was going to work on. So that was really what I wanted to talk about today, was, just really that mindset. And it was just, it's always good to hear it from someone who, like, that's, I was kind of surprised. Like, I kind of knew, Natalie had, when she moved here, like, she had made that commitment to herself, but she never really verbally said that to me in the past. So hearing her say, like, cycling is, like, my day is going to revolve around cycling, which is crazy when you think of what her day is, right? It's teaching class, it's holding office hours, it's conducting research, it's reviewing papers, she's a full-time professor. Like, she's not a part-time professor, she's a full-time professor. So still making it that much more of a priority just shows you how important it truly is. And having that wherewithal of, like, what, this is a new opportunity, I'm really going to plant that seed, and that's just how it's going to be. We're in the middle of a quarantine. Like, everything is a complete shift. So it gives you that opportunity. You know what, when I go back to work, this is how I'm doing things. Or when I'm allowed to leave my house, this is how I'm doing things. So just, food for thought, something to think about, something how you can start to really start to change your life and, put you on that path to where you truly want to be. Because the only way that you're going to get there is if you continue going down the path you've been going down. It may not be the one that's leading you there. It may just be, you might be continuing to walk through quicksand. Versus this way, you might now be, slowly starting to make your way towards a better, healthier life, which is what we want. So I hope you enjoyed today. Again, it's just a little bit of sprinkles out there if you're in the Syracuse area. For those of you elsewhere, I don't know what your weather is. So you have to look out your window and then say, it's only a little bit of rain. Unless you're the person from The Wizard of Oz, I think it was the Wicked Witch of the West, probably not going to melt. Till next time, I will see you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And remember, socially distance yourself from the rest of the world. Wear your masks, and always keep your 6 feet. Thanks.